my gosh, is that a Miata?
Oh, yeah, hey, it is. Yeah, you got a good eye. You like these Miatas?
Oh my gosh, I love those cars. They're so cute.
Whoa, wait. Cute? What do you mean?
Yeah, well, my girlfriend back in the day actually had one, and they're just so much fun. The top comes down. They're just like so cute on the inside. But like this one time, like,
All right. Well, now that that's over, let's talk about the car that made the affordable sports car industry. And I'm talking about the Mazda Miata. Today, I am in an ND example. This is specifically the NDRF edition, so hardtop convertible and a couple extra goodies in that aspect. But my main concern is why people think this is a girly car. Is it a little cute? Maybe. Does it have a lot of horsepower? No. Could you give this to your girlfriend? Probably. She probably wouldn't crash it. It's only got like 180 horsepower. But that's besides the point that I'm trying to make. You see, back in 1989, when the original Mazda Miata came out, this was supposed to be a competitor with the MR2, and funny enough, it was actually originally going to be mid-engine. Fortunately, the NA that ended up coming out was a front-engine, rear-wheel drive setup that ended up still competing with the MR2 at the time. This vehicle at its core was always meant to be a sports car. Now, is the NA known to be a hairdresser's car? 100%. If you ever see one, a girl's always going to think it's cute. It's got the pop-up headlights, which I can't lie, I kind of like too. But that was never what Mazda intended for the vehicle to be. It was always meant to be that budget-friendly sports car. And I think that they still hold that today. Now, although the Miata name is coming up on 30 years old now, which is crazy to say out loud, the vehicle itself still keeps the core concept that Mazda meant for it to have when it was originally released. And that is budget-friendly, front-engine, rear-wheel drive, and balanced. They've never been overpowered. They've never been underpowered either. The whole focus was on balance. And I think that they still keep that in their vehicles today. Now, one of the biggest upgrades that the ND got compared to the earlier generations is actually what is known as a front mid-engine setup. So typically when you think about a mid-engine car, engine's behind you, right? The term mid-engine itself, though, doesn't necessarily mean that the engine has to be behind you. The term mid-engine means that the engine has to be in between both axles. So if we look at a diagram of where this engine is placed, the engine is technically behind the front axle, making it front mid-engine. That was changed in the NC generation only a couple years before this came out, but it drastically improved the handling and the way that the car turns in, because it brings your center of gravity a little bit more closer to the center of the vehicle, achieving a closer 50-50 weight distribution, which is realistically what you want in a car to feel balanced, sporty, and fun. Now, being that this is a newer generation car, there are some things that are good, there are some things that aren't so good. So, is it still affordable? Well, when the ND came out originally in 2016, there were a couple different of trim levels. Base started right around the $28,000 mark. You could option it out all the way up to the RF or the Club Edition, which would run you a little bit closer to $40,000. Is it still a lot of money? Yes, but when we look at everything else that's on the market, there's not a lot of options if you want a budget-friendly rear-wheel drive sports car. You're realistically limited to this, a GR86 or Subaru BRZ, whatever you want to call it, it's the same chassis, and probably something else that I'm forgetting. But I would say it still competes in that budget class. On to the second point of what made the car fun to drive. Is it still light? Well, comparatively no. The car has grown quite fat as time has gone on. Obviously, there's a lot more technology in here. There is a slightly larger engine than used to be able to get optioned. And of course, safety. Safety and technology are the two things that have made this car overweight. Now, again, compared to the original NA, it's almost a 400-pound difference, which, in the grand scheme of things, is that a lot? No. But 2,300 pounds is a lot more than the car used to weigh. Now, if we look at power-to-weight ratios, it is very similar, as this did gain some horsepower as well compared to the previous generations. But I think the big thing that you're looking for as a driver is, does it still feel light? And the answer is yes. This car still feels very nimble, very light. It's not doing anything that you would not expect it to do. It handles like a lightweight sports car. And on to the third and most important point, is it still fun? Well, this thing is still loads of fun. All the control surfaces are very intuitive. Everything feels as it should in a sports car of this price range. The gears are nice and notchy. The throws aren't too tight. The steering has good weight to it and is very predictable. And the ride itself is actually not too compromised for this being a sports car. But I think that's what makes Miatas different from most sports cars. There isn't gobs and gobs of straight line power to put you back in your seat. There's not a techie interior with all the latest features and gadgets. It doesn't have the crazy bucket seats and ultra lightweight interior, because that's not what this car is built for. This car is built to go out and have fun while still being a daily driver. And my buddy that let me borrow this car today, this is his daily driver. He drives it every day to and from work, takes a girlfriend out on dates in it, and it does everything just good enough. But that's just it, right? At this price point, it's just good enough. The power is just good enough. The feel of everything is just good enough. You can't expect a car at this price point to be a BMW M3 or a spec race car. That's just silly. But what you can expect is something that sounds good and something that is never going to bore you. Alright, now it's time to get down into the nitty-gritty of what this car actually feels like. First, we're going to start with the power plant, because I think that's one of the most important things of the vehicle. It's the heart of the vehicle. The power band, while there isn't much there, is very spread out nicely. It's a very linear power band. If I'm at 3,000 RPM and I step on it, there's torque there, and it gets me where I need to go without having to downshift. But if I want it a little bit more, downshift, downshift, and there's the power. Now, these engines, again, it is built by Mazda. They are known for performance, but also reliability. They only rev out to about 7,000 RPM. I think that's probably more than enough. Now, if you look at something like the GR86s again, or the old GT86s, they do have about a 7,800 RPM redline, which is much more exciting. That last 800 RPM is really where the car comes alive. But even in this, they've tuned it in such a way where that last 800-ish RPM, the car's kind of screaming. It's talking to you. It's telling you, give me more. Now, although it does manage its low amount of horsepower quite well, there's just not much there. It's kind of like going to see a scary movie, but being blindfolded. You can hear it, you can hear that something's happening, but you're missing half of it. But it's not all so bad. It does sound fantastic for the size of the engine that it has, and it gives you just enough where you want to come back and take more. Now, the thing that you're going to touch the most in the car, this shifter, which, mind you, this knob is quite large. I don't like large knobs. But aside from that, the transmission itself, it's geared obviously in a way that's going to complement the low horsepower of this vehicle to make it still exciting. The engagement is nice and tight. There is no confusion between gears, and overall, I'd say it's actually a very well-equipped transmission for this vehicle. Now, moving on to something else that's round but not quite as large is the steering of this vehicle. The ND Miata comes with what's known as a electronically assisted steering rack. Now, what that means is you do still have a hydraulic rack that is actually moving fluid back and forth, but there are pumps and other electronic pieces in there that are assisting it while you're driving. So there is not direct connection from your steering wheel to the steering rack. Now, it's not all bad. Mazda actually did a very good job of making the steering emulate what would be more of like a heavier, natural hydraulic rack, but there is still a little bit left to be desired. Although it does have good tuning as far as weight goes, it is still a little light in my opinion. Now, again, for a daily driving aspect, it's probably not a bad thing, because when you're daily driving, you don't want something you have to manhandle around just to be able to take your girlfriend out to dinner. You want something that's going to be a little bit leisurely, but when you want to go have fun, you have that little bit of connected feel to it. Now, as far as feedback from the wheel, there is a little bit of feedback through there. When the tires start starts to slip, you do get a little bit of feeling through there, but it is just a little bit numb. An electronic rack is not going to be that direct connection where you can feel everything that's happening underneath you. It's just not possible. Now, they do a good job at it, but there is, again, a little bit more that's left to be desired. Now on to the next most touched thing in the vehicle, your pedal box, which in Miata fashion, they actually get really good. All the pedals are spaced just far enough apart where you're not gonna get in the way, you're not gonna be pressing pedals when you don't mean to, but they're just close enough where if you need to heel toe downshift, it's very easy. You slide your foot over and the throttle's right there. The brake pedal still has good feel, although it is a little bit more sensitive than they used to be. And the clutch pedal, again, very smooth engagement throughout it, good pressure in it, and nothing really that's out of the ordinary. They made the car very intuitive to drive, which I am a fan of, because jumping into someone else's vehicle for the first time, you're not always sure what to expect. I jumped in this car, in a matter of minutes, I was comfortable as if I'd owned this vehicle for years, which is not a very easy thing to do. Now, having a little bit of time to actually be sitting in the car, driving the car, feeling everything out in the vehicle, I have noticed that these seats, although they are not the sport buckets, they do have a bit of side bolstering in them, so I'm not being flung around all over the place. But again, these are still made for more of that daily driving aspect where there is still a bit of play in the back of it, but there is just enough where I'm not completely upset either. Now, there's not a whole lot of adjustment as far as lumbar or raising the seat up and down itself. You pretty much just have sliders, so it goes forward or backwards, and you have a recliner for the seat. And funny enough, for a car of this size, I'm not a large guy by any means. I'm about 5'7", 5'8" on a good day, and a lot of my height is in my torso. I actually had to recline the seat so far back to actually fit in here without touching my head that I'm a bit astounded. I never lay this far back in a vehicle. I'm almost cholo leaning to make myself fit in here, which I think is a little bit of a bigger issue. But aside from that, this is a fairly new vehicle, so you do get some nice amenities. This one has the touchscreen in it, which has been recently updated to have Apple CarPlay. You do get power windows, power locks, power mirrors, as well as an auto-adjusting climate control. Very nice. But in typical Mazda fashion, they haven't overdone it. They have just enough to please the driver, but not too much to indulge the driver and make this thing even fatter than it has already gotten over time. Nonetheless, though, I've been having so much fun driving this car. Don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about what people say on the internet. If you have the chance to actually drive one of these, it is every bit as enjoyable as you think it would be. There are some things, however, I'm not a fan of. For starters, it's a modern car, so there's modern safety, which is awful. Blind spot monitors, traffic braking assist, smart city support. Like, what is that? Why do I need that as a driver? That's stuff for teenagers. Get that out of my car. Not to mention, there's an A-pillar in there the size of OG Ludlow. It's much too large, it gets in the way of driving, and it is quite awful. Alongside that, although the steering is good in weight, it's dead on center point. Steering the car, once you turn it in, is quite good. Once you're in the turn and come out of it, finding the center point is like trying to do open heart surgery with no fingers. But it doesn't stop there. The trunk is barely large enough to fit a small child. The suspension is quite wallowy in corners, causing for unnecessary rotation in the vehicle, and the power roof takes about a fortnight to open. Now, with all this in mind, is this car still worth it in 2026, the year of frame mogging and clavicular? Well, to make a short story long, yes. This car is fantastic in every single aspect, and especially at the price point that it's at. There's very few cars that will give you the type of emotion that this car does. It's playful, it's witty, it fights back occasionally, but in the right hands, this vehicle is pure ecstasy. And the great part is, there is a little bit of something for everyone. For your daily drivers, there is those creature comforts that you would otherwise not have in other sporty vehicles. For the weekend track warrior, it's engaging, it has just enough power to stay fun, and guess what? You can lap it all day long with absolutely zero issue. And for my female drivers out there, it's cute, it's cheap on fuel, and you can put the top down when it gets hot outside. So if you've got some time, if if you've got some money, I highly recommend you go take a look at one of these, because no matter where you go, whether it's a track day, whether it's the mall, whether it's your local canyon road, these things are everywhere, and it's for good reason. So, if you guys made it this far in this video, again, remember to like, subscribe, and comment. And again, a very big and special thank you to my friend Blade for letting me borrow his Miata for the day. There's only 2 caveats were don't crash it and don't jerk off in it. We did one of those. But until the next time, remember to follow God, take risks, and we'll see you next time.